Hey, my name is 𝗣𝗟𝗧, and I absolutely love helping people connect with their calling and all the tools they need to kick roadblocks and excuses right out the door so they can cultivate the life they dream about. If you want to launch, grow, pivot, or scale your Etsy shop, or you've always wanted to develop the mindset and skills to run your own business, then I'm your girl. I've had that entrepreneurial spirit going strong since my very first lemonade stand, and now I'm a work-at-home mama with multiple online companies and a full-time Etsy shop, all while being present with my kids for the everyday chaos and most important milestones. On this podcast, we'll talk about all things business, mindset, Etsy, creativity, dazzling our customers, and so much more. There's plenty of room at this table for you, so scooch on in and let's go. I'm holding nothing back. Welcome to How to Sell Your Stuff on Etsy. I'm so glad you're here. Hey, you guys, welcome back to the show this week. If you are in the United States and you happen to celebrate, happy 4th of July. I hope you're having an amazing holiday, relaxing with some friends, barbecuing, chilling, whatever that looks like. This is a really fun week for my family because we're up at our house in northern Wisconsin that's on a lake, and there's a lot of like lake festivities, fireworks. There's actually there's like a boat parade that we do where all of the different people who live here like line up in their boats and they do a big circle of there's two connected lakes, and so the smaller lake is the one that we all circle around, and then we end up at our oldest resident's dock. I don't know, she may be 100, I'm not sure, but she is quite a character, and every year she serenades us with the Star Spangled Banner, and her name is 𝗟𝗏, and she's adorable. There are mixed feelings about this particular tradition, but I don't know. I love the small town charm and like the ridiculous things that we do. So we will be doing that, assuming Hunter will even deign to stay on the boat long enough to get around the lake. I'm giving it very low odds because this kid is on the move. But no matter where you are, where you're celebrating, or if you're not celebrating, I just hope that you're having a wonderful summer and that things are going well and you're finding some time to relax and enjoy the finer things in life. I've been on like a bit of an anxiety journey recently with like some very minor health things, but I get super triggered. So just to peel back a layer of my life, it's been challenging, like with the move and everything. And then we got up here, which is totally my happy place. But send me all of your prayers and good thoughts because I have been on the struggle bus, but I think I'm coming out of it. The nature helps me a whole lot, and I should do an episode. Let me know if you think I should do an episode on this coming up. My kind of the tools that I've found and the journey through that, because I think a lot of people in today's world struggle with anxiety, and I know we all have different triggers, but I got a lot I could say on the topic. But we're going to kick back and relax, and I hope that you're doing the same. So today we are doing an Etsy FAQ episode. I know how much you love these. We are hitting on so many different wonderful topics. Thank you so much if you happen to submit a question. If not, please know I do one of these usually twice a year. So later in the fall, I'll be announcing it again on several episodes prior where you can go ahead and submit a question for me to answer on air. I get through as many of them as I can. And this time I didn't get as many submissions. So I'm not going to tell you it's going to be a shorter episode because this is me we're talking about, but we'll see how it goes. So we're going to go through that. Also, always remember, if you have an interesting story on your Etsy journey, you've got at least 100 sales, you've kind of hit the groove, you're figured things out a little bit, and you just have maybe a different story or a different product or whatever, you can always apply to be a guest on the podcast. I can't accept everybody. There's like some criteria, but the link is always down below in the show notes. If you think it would be fun to come talk to me on the podcast and share your story and like the tips, because I think if there's anything I've learned, and to be honest, it surprised me as I became an Etsy coach. It surprised me how many different ways there are to succeed. There's not just my way. There's not just Beowulf Biz's way. There's not just Heather Studio's way. Or Gold City Ventures, all of the experts that I am friends with. There are so many different ways to make this work. And so your stories mean the world to us. And they're just so fun. It's fun geeking out with you guys. So let's jump into the FAQs that were submitted and we'll see what we can get through. The first one, and I almost wish I asked you guys to submit names, but I know the anonymity is nice, but I wish I could be like, so-and-so's asking. I just don't have that because I keep it anonymous. So it says, I include a lot of listing details in photos as you suggest. For example, I have a photo that talks about processing and shipping times, and another that talks about materials. The problem is it's a big hassle to update all of these photos if I decide to change anything. Oh my gosh, yes, I feel your pain. Example, if I start using a slightly different type of cardstock for my greeting cards, I know there's a way to bulk update listing descriptions, but have you found an easy way to bulk update photos for multiple listings? This is a brilliant question, and I totally used to struggle with this as well. It actually, before there were any options for this, I had to just kind of eliminate some things that I would have loved to have in my photos. And this person is totally right. I recommend, like, you want to use all of the photos that they give you for each listing. And I know that's not always possible, but let me just tell you. So for example, if you're on the app as a shopper and you go through someone's listing photos, if not every single space is filled, at the end, Etsy puts up like their own photo that's actually a search bar. So it's going to prompt the buyer to search and potentially go obviously to a totally different shop and listing. If you fill them all up, I've noticed that doesn't happen. It just goes back to your first photo when they've scrolled all the way through. So if you want to keep them on your listings, that's great. Not to mention, as you've probably heard me say 1,000 times, most shoppers don't look at the description. Plenty do. So you should be detailed, organized, neat, and tidy in your description. Most people try to find every answer they can in the photos. So this person's doing it perfectly. So here's the bottom line. There isn't a way on Etsy to do this. There's no way to bulk edit photos, even if it's changing out just the same one. But there's a third-party app called Evlista, Evlista. I will have that linked below for you. And they allow you to, they like integrate with your Etsy shop, and they allow you to bulk update photos. So that would be the best solve for you. I think you were doing the right thing. Keep it up. I think it's so smart to have all those details in there, especially if you've done it in an aesthetic way. It also, I think, is so great to change it out with the seasons. Like if you're really big on the branding of your shop, this is a way to make it not, because I always avoided that before because I'm like, oh, really? I'm going to go into 200 listings and update all of the, no, I am not going to do that. But now if I with my sign shop had Evlista, I totally could have easily just switched it out for the seasons to make it kind of fun. So the little tip you guys didn't ask for, but that's fun. The next question is, if we could only use one social media platform, what do you suggest? Great question. But actually, next week, the guest is going to be my friend 𝗗𝗟𝗓, who is my social media guru. I am in her business membership because she teaches on all of the things, social media, email marketing, building your business, like from an Etsy shop into like having your own website and things like that. She has over, probably about 100 tutorials in there. And then you're part of the membership every month. So you get like help, and there's a group. It's one of my favorite things to be a part of. And she is going to talk about this exact thing, which platform. And she actually has a great strategy she's going to talk through. So I'll save that. But in my opinion, and it's a little different than what she said, but she did agree with me in the interview. If you don't have a lot of time and you just want to do one thing, I would do Pinterest. And the reason is because you're not dealing with the social interaction. Pinterest is also a search engine. So if you're using really good keywords and stuff in your titles and descriptions on Pinterest, that's great. And you can use your share and save Etsy links, which you absolutely want to do. You're going to want to enroll for that in your within your dashboard on Etsy. You're going to enroll for the share and save because you'll save 4% of the transaction fee, the 6.5% transaction fee that Etsy charges. It's like, it was one of those things that Etsy rolled out kind of to make sellers a bit happier. And I actually think they should have made a bigger deal out of it because I think it would have, I don't know, like it would have been like, we're giving you this. And it was so kind of quiet in my opinion. So I'll make sure and put the share and save link. You have to go into your own dashboard, but I have an article about it from Etsy where if you go into the article and you click their link, it automatically takes you to the page that you enroll in. It just kind of saves you some time if you're already, if you're already logged into your Etsy shop there in the browser. So that can help you. And then I will also make sure and link Julie's membership, since I went ahead and mentioned that. There's a coupon code too for your first month. I'll put it in the note. I don't remember because I already did the interview with her, so I can't remember how much it was for. But she just gave that to us, and that's a big deal. So you're getting it early. Okay, so Pinterest. You definitely, I just learned this from Julie, and I'm going to say it here because it's relevant. I always knew this because back in the day, like in 2012, I was a social media consultant and coach. but it all changes so fast. And I haven't done that in so long that I'm just a little more detached from it. But I'd gotten to the point where for my shops, I was just using my share and save link and like letting it generate the first listing photo from my own photos. And Julie said, do not do that. Pinterest does not like that square size or the like the more horizontal dimensions from Etsy. They still want the long pin. So she said, go into Canva, make yourself a darn pin for your listing. So just pro tip there. So much goodness coming next week though. Don't miss that episode. I was flabbergasted. I learned so much from her about different ways I can be leveraging content I'm already making for my Etsy shop, and then also other ways that I can leverage those platforms to make additional streams of income. It was like so encouraging. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm like, she's on her A game. I got to listen to her. So Pinterest for sure. And then after that, I am going to plug in after that. I think that for handmade sellers, especially, you should be on TikTok because people love the behind the scenes. There's so much you can show with a handmade product. I can't even envision how you would do it really I'm sure there's a way for a digital product or a print on demand product, but for handmade, you could literally build a multiple six-figure business just by getting really good content on TikTok. And it would take some time. You got to give yourself time. You got to be consistent. You got to like move with it. But when I tell you, I cannot stress enough how much crazy success I've seen happen when a handmade seller starts making really good TikToks and they just see their product fly off the shelves. So Pinterest, then probably TikTok if you're a physical product. Pinterest works great for also print on demand and digital products. That's why it's just like that's the one. Hey guys, today's episode is sponsored by ProfitTree, which is a new and incredible tool that will massively help your Etsy shop grow. My friend and fellow Etsy coach, Hannah Gardner, she's been on the podcast and you may know her from her massive, incredible YouTube channel, ecomHannah, highly recommend. She's a 7-figure seller who's obsessed with data tracking. This is like her superpower. I love it. ProfitTree is a service that's going to seamlessly integrate with your Etsy shop to give you automated, real-time profit tracking for your store. So for the first time ever, you can now obtain meaningful, actionable insights on core metrics of your Etsy shop. No more Excel sheets, V-lookups, I don't even know what that is, or exporting reports. Y'all have been asking for this, and Hannah and her team have over-delivered. This is like one of those new tools that I'm so stinking excited about. With ProfitTree, you can spend less time playing catch-up and more time growing your shop. So the integration will allow you to easily import and track your business expenses and product costs, which means that you can maximize sales of each item in your collection by seeing the true profit breakdowns in the blink of an eye. Forget about hours of manual work to only get outdated data. No kidding. Not to mention if you're like me and you don't even try because the numbers make your eyes bleed. So embarrassing, but it's true. But ProfitTree is going to do the work for you so you can get clear insights of all of your unique product variations, which is so helpful. Additional features to ProfitTree include real-time calculations, low stock alerts, one-click print-on-demand integrations, trend spot your product, that's helpful, track duplicated products so you can see which one's doing better and why, add custom expenses, optimize listings profitability, and identify listing issues like missing SKUs and COGS. Right now, when you sign up, you can start with a 7-day free trial and make sure to use code TREE10, TREE10, to save 10% on your membership. And as someone who knows how important the tracking piece is, you guys, but I don't feel like it's a strength of mine in that area, I am so super excited about this service because it's going to take the piece off of my plate that I'm not good at, but still give me the benefit of having that work done. Super stoked. So check it out. Start gathering the best possible data for your shop, for your listings, and it's going to help you grow and scale your business. So thank you so much, Hannah and ProfitTree. You guys are lifesavers. The next question. Hi there. I just love your podcast. Thank you. I am an artist who paints landscape and still life art in a vintage style. I use the words vintage and antique in my listings, and I'm wondering if I could be violating Etsy's rules. I often use the term vintage inspired, like with a dash, to describe my artwork. How can I appear in searches for vintage art if I don't use the actual word vintage? Could my shop get shut down for this? I appreciate any advice. This is a great question. So, and it's a bit nuanced. I haven't heard of shops getting shut down for this, but here's the thing. When you use the term vintage, especially in a tag, but I would also say in your title, or for that matter, when a customer goes to the search bar and types in vintage, it creates an automatic filter. So if you go to Etsy.com and you type in vintage t-shirt, for example, and you hit enter, what it's going to do is you'll hit enter, and then all of a sudden your search bar is only going to say t-shirt, and then below it's going to show the filter for vintage, just like you'd see a filter for like high to low pricing, or you'd see a filter for location, or you could filter for a star seller. And so what that does is it really affects the search results. So to be honest, you probably wouldn't be showing up as well in search results because the filter would automatically affect that search. I haven't heard of shops getting shut down for that, but I wouldn't be surprised if at some point they did. Etsy is they're constantly refining. And I don't know that that's good. I can't tell you if they're going to crack down on that or not, if it's working for you. I understand the uncertainty about which way to go. If it were me, I would be getting away from using the word vintage. I do like that you're using vintage-inspired. And if you do that in your title, you make sure, again, that there's no space. It's vintage with the dash and inspired. I tested that. It does not invoke the filter or engage the filter. So that could help you. But I don't know how many shoppers are typing in vintage inspired, -inspired. Do you know what I'm saying? So I would be using words like antique, traditional, retro, classic, vintage-inspired only in the title. I'd be just using some of those other words, and I'd be trying to compete for other keywords that are maybe not related to that. And just trust that lots of people are looking for that kind of thing, and but they're probably also using other keywords. So use something like a Sales Samurai or an Everb to get in there and find out what are some other keywords you could rank for. So that's my suggestion on that. I'm so sorry. I wish Etsy would tell us, what they're doing, but I can't promise you that won't shut down your shop because it is using the filter. And then they're going to be like, this isn't 20 years old, which is the rule for vintage products, at least 20 years old. So I hope that helps. That's what I would do. Switch to some of those other words. And that's how to get around it. The next question is it better to do a vacation mode for 2 weeks or stretch out the production shipping time? My usual turnaround time is 1 to 3 days. So if you're just you're not actually taking a break from the shop, or you're not so inundated with orders that you need to wait for several weeks, I would always just stretch out the production and shipping time. I used to use vacation mode all the time. I will say I haven't in recent years because I'm just selling digital products right now. So it doesn't really, it doesn't matter. I can kind of manage it from my phone wherever I am. But with a physical so when I used it it wasn't a problem. What I needed to do was set my expectation that if I'm turning this off for in 2020, for example, it was off for 2.5 months. Maybe, no, it was longer than that because we got stranded. Do you guys remember this story? If you're newer here. So back in 2020, I had a sign shop, and starting at the beginning of COVID, everything went insane. We were selling signs like insane. We made more money in the first, half of the year than we usually would in a whole year. And then we came up here to Wisconsin. So we had our RV and we drove up here. And on the way, we had a brand new car, brand new RV. We had done everything right. But the transmission failed. And we were stranded up here. Fortunately, it failed about 6 hours from the lake house. So we were able to kind of finagle it. But Ford couldn't get us a new transmission for 4.5 months because their factories had pivoted to making respirators and things like that. So we were literally stuck up here. It ended up kind of changing everything for us because now we come up here for that long intentionally. But my Etsy shop was on vacation mode for that whole time, for months and months and months. What you have to do is be prepared that when you turn it back on, you're not going to just start getting sales again right away. It depending on how the longer you have it off, the further you are kind of out of the algorithm, so to speak. And that's the downside of vacation mode. I still recommend it. I would still do it now if I had a physical product. I wouldn't hesitate. But I would be prepared okay, this is going to affect when I turn it back on. It's going to take a while for me to get reestablished, and I'm probably going to have to run some ads. I'm probably going to have to, but back then we would renew the listing to get a bump. That doesn't work anymore. So I would just be giving it time. I'd be adding new listings and creating actual activity in my shop to kind of get things going. I'd be running ads, at least temporarily. So for sure in your case, I would just be pushing out that turnaround time. That's better than turning it off if you need more time. Boy, you all got more than you asked for on that one, didn't you? What else is new? Okay, so the next submission, they sent in 8 questions, and since I didn't get very many, we're going to go through them all. So this was like a sweet spot for this person. Thank you for sending questions. The first one is it necessary to run daily sales to succeed on Etsy? No, not at all. And actually, the first thing I'll say is I learned earlier this year that it's technically illegal to run like a 24-hour sale every single day on Etsy. You can do it periodically, like once a week or whatever, but if you're doing it every single day, and I know thousands of sellers are doing this, doesn't seem like anyone's getting dinged for it. I know a lot of really successful people that I'm friends with that still do this, but I'm just like, I'm super sensitive to rule following. And the FTC actually says this is illegal. There's a law, and it's considered fraudulent advertising. So basically what you've marked up because it's like considered deceptive. I personally think it's overreacting, but I'm still going to follow the rule. But I understand. I've gotten emails from you guys being like, no, it's totally cringy. I'm like, I respect that. I get it. I follow the rule. But it's deceptive advertising or fraudulent because you're marking up your product so that you can then run a constant sale to make it look like it's a cheaper price temporarily, because then the clock is running on the sale price. But even the whole point is the rule is basically you can't inflate your sales price to then run a sale to make it look like it really should be that higher price, because it does cause some manipulation to the buyer and psychology, making them want to buy it because they think it's only on sale for a temporary time. So that's that. I probably need to say now, because I'm going to be answering more questions like this. Also, always remember, guys, I am not a legal professional. None of this is legal advice. I know I just said this was a law, and that's factual. There's like links to it and everything that I found on YouTube videos before. But anything that I say, especially coming up here, this is not legal advice, just for educational purposes, my experience, which would certainly not encompass everyone's experience. And so just be careful with that. If we take legal advice from me, we'll all be in trouble. Call Paige Hulse. She'll steer you right. So also, and then in terms of running sales, no, you don't need to run sales if you do not want to. I don't think that's, you know what I've noticed? It kind of depends on the niche that you're in. So if you go and you look at all the competitors, it does get a bit tricky if every other competitor, and this bothers me. This is why I'm just like, I'm obviously like not pro Etsy cracking down on every single rule because we're already drowning. But if I've noticed this when I was recording my course last year, that it seems to be niche by niche, and some niches, everybody is running a sale, and that makes it really hard to stand out and compete against those listings. And so I will say that what you need to do, the bottom line is you need to pay attention to what the pricing is of your competitors. And especially if they're positioned better, like they've got bestseller badges, they've got more reviews or better reviews, they've got more sales, you need to do something that's going to make you more attractive to the customer than them. And that's more tricky. Like you need to differentiate yourself somehow, whether it's price, whether it's turnaround time, whether it's just positioning of your product, whether it's you've kind of micro niched. So for example, let me throw it an example. Let's say you sell ceramic mugs and they sell really pretty pottery mugs, but you emboss yours with animals. And so your differentiation is someone can get a sloth mug or an axolotl mug from you, and they're just as cool and beautiful as the other one, but it's different because they can get the animal. So I'm just throwing out ways of just differentiation. But I'm not going to say, I think it's a problem that all those shops are running those illegal sales, especially when I've seen that it's all of the top competitors. So take a look at what's going on in your niche, price accordingly, find other ways to differentiate yourself would be kind of the bottom line there. This person's number 2 question is it better to have variations for an item in one listing or split amongst separate listings? I've heard different schools of thought on this. For example, I know so Jenny from the shop, she creates a listing for every single one. So for example, if she's got a phrase that she's putting on a t-shirt, she doesn't have the drop down with all the different t-shirt colors on the variations. She'll have them in her shop and she'll maybe link to them in the description, but she's not causing the confusion of the colors. I personally always had the colors. I don't think you should have a ton, because I think the more choices you have, sometimes the harder it is for a customer. I think what I've seen work really well is anything that you have in your variations, have it in your photo gallery so they can envision give them the best picture you can of what it's going to look like. So I don't think there's a right or wrong. I personally choose to have reasonable variations right there in the same listing. Anytime that I didn't, I did always link to it down in my description. Number 3 is, can you do parody art legally? I don't know the bottom line answer to that, but I would not. I think that it's hard to do parody art without causing some brand confusion. I think that it's really skirting the lines of the of the law. I would not do it. But that would be a question for Paige Hulse. She could answer that bottom line. I think I saw somewhere, and again, not legal advice, but I think I saw somewhere that parody art cannot be something that you make money from. So it's like fine to create in the marketplace. I don't know this for sure, not in the marketplace, but like on social media or whatever. But to actually make money off of it is where it becomes a problem. But don't quote me. Bottom line, I wouldn't do it. Number 4, can you use a famous person's name, even just the first name, in your designs? No, you cannot make money off of someone else's name, likeness, or what they've created without having a license to do so. Number 5, any advice for someone starting their first digital shop soon, not new to Etsy, currently selling handmade and print on demand? So digital products are so fun to get into. Some advice would be like, first of all, find areas of opportunity in the marketplace. I feel like digital has so many, not because, it's already super busy, but there's just so many things out there that can be created. And I would use things like gift mode to get in there and kind of see what people are creating and figure out ways that you can put a twist on it. The other thing that helped me tremendously is once I decided on the kinds of things that I wanted to make and sell digitally, or for anything, for physical, for print on demand even, order from your competitors and see how they have it set up. So save yourself time, stress, money by seeing how they deliver the files, seeing the format, what things are they providing, what do their reviews say, like is missing or something that people want. Kind of do that homework and experience what it's like to buy it, and like really good experiences versus mediocre before you do it. And that's basically it. Otherwise, it's just the same as anything else. Like, find the opportunities, use maybe a keyword tool like Sales Samurai or Everb to find opportunities, study gift mode, and look for areas that you can fill gaps. And congratulations, that's so fun. How often should you create new listings? I think as often as you can consistently. So it definitely is a thing on Etsy that when you're regularly in your shop, adding new listings, creating, continuing to create, just like on a social media platform, Etsy, the algorithm loves it and your whole shop is positively affected. So for example, if you could consistently do one a week, then do one a week and try to stick to the same time and day to publish it every week, because that consistency is key. If you can do one a day, that's great. I think if you want to go, it kind of depends on your goals too, right? Like if you're trying to make Etsy as big of an income as you possibly can, I'd be trying to add 5 to 10 a day, depending on what I was selling. But if you're, but at the bottom, but don't stress about that. If you're like, that's impossible, Lizzie, you're nuts. Okay, so what if you can only do 2 new listings a month? Fine, do it. And just keep yourself to that. What you don't want to do is like this month you do 10, next month you do 0, the next month you do 3. Like try to stick to, and it's not like that's going to kill you. I'm about to talk in a minute about, this person asked about my personal mockup shop and digital shops. So, but like the best scenario is to be regularly adding new listings. It's what Etsy's algorithm loves the most. Then they asked, how many listings do you think are needed? I think it totally depends on the niche. If we are still in digital products, a lot, because it's let me put it this way. It's annoying to maintain a digital product shop when it's making you like $20 a month. Like it's kind of not worth the work for most of us. So if you're building a digital product business, you want to be making enough money to make it worth your time. Nobody, for the most part, wants to make $20 an hour or $10 an hour from their shop. The idea is let's create some extra income. Physical product shops don't need as many to be successful. So it'd kind of be like, in my opinion, digital shops need the most listings. I'd personally be trying to grow towards upwards of 500. My goal would be like to get to 2,000 and beyond. Print on demand would be the next one. I'd still be though trying to get to as many listings as I can, up to 2,000 and beyond. And then physical products, it kind of depends, because you could be really busy if something is trending with 5 to 10 products. But I I did really well when I kept feeding the beast, because the reality is, even for most physical products, at some point, you're going to see that curve of sales go down, even if you found a hot thing. So you want to be, even before you have like an arc where you have a product that's just killing it for you, you want to be working on the next thing that's going to take over, or at least backfill when that one slows down. Otherwise, you kind of go into panic mode. This happened to me. You go into panic mode about, oh my gosh, how am I going to get back to the income that I was making when that was performing so well? So always be innovating. And then number 8, they asked, how's your digital mockup shop going? And so I have 2. I have like the first mockup shop that I opened, which was literally like trying to create mockups for print on demand sellers using mostly Midjourney with AI mockups. And I have 334 sales in there. I have not worked on that shop since last year. And then I had a spin-off shop from there that has done much better for me, and it's at 576 sales. I started that one at the beginning of this year. I haven't added new listings to that since before the move, though. So like, I don't know, February maybe. But I still get sales every week for both of them, several sales every week. And most of the sales are full shop access. So they're like, it's like like a $17 sale each one. So that's how that's going. I'm happy with it. It would be better if I was adding listings to it, but with my like spin-off shop, I've kind of decided I'm not sure how much more it could do. It's very, very niched down. And the last time I checked, I didn't really have a competitor or like a good one. I probably do now. But because of that, even if I created another 100 listings, I'm not like, it might make my customers happier because they've got the full shop access, but I don't know how much it would benefit me. So right now I'm focusing more on getting ready to do another physical product probably with Robbie when we get back to the farm in the fall. We've been playing with like prototypes and things like that. And man, those early days are rough. Okay, next question. And this is from a new asker. I don't know what I'd call that. A new person. When you go away for 1 month, should you put your shop on vacation mode or extend your shipping processing times to 1 month and send a message with an option to cancel to buyers? Thanks. Good question. So if it were me, I'd put it on vacation mode personally, because I don't even want to be in my like DMs when I'm on vacation like that. And I also think, I can't prove this, but I sort of think Etsy doesn't like it if you're like canceling a lot of transactions. I think that probably looks a little funky to like the part of the algorithm that's like the customer satisfaction score. So I mean, I think it's up to you. It's not like the end of the world if you want to do that. And I mean, if you do want to keep it open and have longer processing times, I would for sure put something in also in like your shop welcome message. That's right there at the top of the shop. I'd probably even put something on the banner. And then, yeah, I'd be definitely sending a DM with like when the order comes in with the expectation. They should have already seen it, but that would be good. It's probably not the end of the world, but I personally would opt for vacation mode. Next question. What are the basic business things that you need to start an Etsy business, like a dedicated bank account, tax number, etc.? The idea of just posting something on Etsy sounds fun, but I'm worried about the very basic necessities to make sure my Etsy business is operating correctly. So great question. The first thing about this is it totally depends on where you are. Not even just like most of my listeners are in the US. So it depends on like what country you're in. And then like in the US, it depends on what state you're in. So Etsy actually has really, really good resources. If I were you, I'd go to a browser and I would just type in like Etsy seller guide, and I would go look at their stuff in there, or do a search for like, what do I need to start an Etsy business? And you should see like an Etsy blog link option. They're going to have the most detailed, stuff for like where you are in the world. But apart from that, basically so they're just, I just did a replay of the first Paige Hulse, attorney Paige Hulse episode. It's how to keep yourself out of legal trouble in your Etsy shop. And I'm going to link that for you so that you can hear what she says. Because, so for example, where I am, in Texas, as far as Etsy was concerned, all I needed was, a social security number, an address in the US, my basic information, and you have to have bank account information. You have to provide bank account information. That would be like all you would technically need to open as like a sole proprietor. But again, you don't want to take legal advice from me. And Paige Hulse strongly encourages that you have an LLC in place ahead of time. Plenty of Etsy sellers don't. I started without one, without really understanding the risks, but at the time I didn't have the money to set up an LLC. So like you don't, again, if you were in Texas like me and most of the United States, you wouldn't have to have that so if you wanted to just play and throw one up, throw up a listing, that's all you would technically need, but you wouldn't be legally protected. So if something happened, it could affect like your whole family, your family, your household, like your assets and things like that. So listen to that episode for like a little more on that. If you're a bit of, it kind of depends on what's your willingness to take risks, like how risk adverse are you? And that's going to influence how you decide to do it. So I hope that kind of helps. That's a good episode to listen to. Also, for the people who are in my course, my Etsy course, Listings That Sell, Paige Hulse provided a full training for Etsy sellers in that first module. She's freaking amazing. So she went into more detail on like what you want to have to legally set up your business. And that's super helpful. If you happen to already have that resource, you can log in and do that. I'll link the course in case you want to become a member of it. It's very detailed. Like I have a lot in it. I haven't even looked at it in a few days. So I can't remember. I have like mom brain. But there's over 25 hours of content there. There's a fast track that's less than 5 hours if you don't want to go through all that. Everything from how to set up shipping, how to pick a product, how to research to figure out, trends and how to like look for the SEO for your product, how to set up your pictures right. All of like the legal setup and all of it is in there. I really tried to cover everything. It's mostly for I set it up for physical product sellers, but it would be just as helpful to a print on demander or a digital product seller, except for it's not going to show you, for example, how to, integrate with Printify for print on demand, how to do that part. It's not going to show you how to create a mock-up picture. It's not going to show you for digital, like how to upload a digital product because it's focused for physical products. But everything else in terms of business setup, SEO, setting up your listing, really good photos, all of the things that you need to know about selling on Etsy, it's covering that. So, I will link it in case you're also wanting to see that special segment from Paige Hulse about business setup. And then, no, that's it for that one. Next question. I'm a teacher off for the summer. I would like to use this time to set up some stream of income that I can work on. I teach art, paint paintings for people, do ceramics, most anything crafty. You are adorable. We would be best friends. I have an Etsy right now that isn't doing very well. I also use Everb for research. What would be your suggestion that you see as a lead right now? Okay, great question. So because of how you have talked about what you do, teaching art, painting paintings, doing ceramics, crafty stuff, if I were you, I would try to sell craft kits to adults and kids and travel activities. I think that there is a major hole in that. I haven't looked at it in like a month or two, but there's always room for more, right? You could go look, and even if there's 20 bestsellers in that, moms like me are always looking for really clever crafts and art because I don't come up with them well on my own. I need inspiration from someone else. So if I could just buy a kit, remember that there's the Etsy rule where you can't make like a gift basket, right? So you can't go and get a bunch of supplies or other things and put them together as like a gift basket. But if you are creating the craft, like let's say, this is too elementary and I wouldn't recommend doing this, but you remember when I was a kid, they'd have this little, like there'd be a design and it would sort of be like numbers, but you would thread a piece of like shoestring, is that what you call it? Yeah. Through each one, like 1, 2, and it would like, the outline would make a cat or something like that. So if you were creating those boards, those like that, cat board with the little hole punches there for them to thread the thing through, and then you happen to include a shoelace, I think that would be fine. The issue is if you're like, don't go to the flea market or Michael's or something and buy a bunch of crafts on clearance and then go sell them, on Etsy. So I think if I were you, that's what I would do as a huge lead right now. And for anybody else who's thinking the same thing, like I know I don't have those skills or have interest in doing that. I think the best place to look for ideas is to go into the gift mode. Etsy has just put so much into that. And that's been how I've kind of come across trends. I'm really trying to figure out how to do this en masse where I could start every month, like submitting, providing some kind of a list of like, here are some things, but it's easier said than done. But I think it's a great question. I would scour gift mode, look for things that are best sellers, that are really clever, and then go back into Etsy, maybe even in like an incognito mode, which is like a private browsing window, and search the main keyword for that thing and see how competitive it is. So like there's one bestseller. If there's like 10 or 20 for the exact same thing, then it may be too saturated, especially if there's just like, 20 pages of search results. I wish it would still tell you how many searches there are. You need like Everb or Sales Samurai to actually see the number of how many people are searching for that term every month. And that data is really helpful. But I'd be looking to see, and the sweet spot is when there's just one or two bestsellers on something, and you look at the data, like you click into the Everb product analytics, and you see that they are flying off the shelves. Like they're selling a ton of those every month, but there's only like especially when you do the search, and there's only like one or two pages of results, or under 10. That's the sweet spot. That's where something is trending, but there's not a lot of competition for it yet. And you could do something a little bit of a tweak, unique, to make it different. Take something that everyone's doing, a kitty cat or a teddy bear, and making it a unicorn. I know I always give examples that are animals. Everyone's doing a beach scene, and you're like, oh dude, I'm going to come in with the mountains. Like that's how I'm going to differentiate. I'm going to do a desert. I'm going to incorporate cowgirl. I'm going to trend combine because this product is trending, and I'm going to bring in another trend that I know like animals are trending, farm is trending. What did I just say? Something I just said was, the cowgirl Western theme trending. Anything from the trend report, which I literally can't remember. And I did that episode for you a while back. So that's what I would do. And it's not easy. Okay. Like it's not something, if I do it, it takes me hours, y'all, to do that, to find those, which is why, like I said, I wish there was a way for me to fast track that so I could provide it for y'all. But that is how it's done. You have to dig in there, and you're looking for the sweet spot where there's bestsellers, or it doesn't even have to be a bestseller, but when you look at like the Everb snapshot, these people are making enough sales where you'd be excited to make that much money off of that product. Okay, I've gone too much in that. That's what I would do. This is the last question. This isn't that long. Okay, but it's not short either, so I'm not going to pat myself on the back. But last question: comparing Sales Samurai to Everb, why is their data so different? Great question. I get this all the time, and I'm starting to get a little more opinionated about it. I can't prove anything. So yes, when you use, like, for example, if you have both plugins in your browser and you do a search for something on Etsy and you see the Sales Samurai data and like how many monthly searches there are for it, and then you see the Everb data, it's usually really, really, really different. In my opinion, because I tend to back up the research, I don't just look at those numbers, then I do my own research into that niche to establish actual demand. Everb's numbers are more accurate. I still use both tools though, because what I love to use Everb to see, I trust their monthly searches better. Oh, P.S. Let me just say, Etsy doesn't publish any of this. So Everb, Sales Samurai's, E-Rank, Marmalade, there's one more. There's more than one more. Any of them, they're having to create their own algorithm to try to estimate how many searches there are. So it's not like Etsy's publishing them and someone's lying and someone's not. They're all, I don't even know, like Everb just seems more accurate to me based on my research than Sales Samurai. I don't know that they're spot on. I really like those guys though. I know them personally as opposed to Sales Samurai being a little more vacant. But anyway, I still use both. I have them both integrated into my browser. And I use the Everb data for how many monthly searches there are. And I use Everb constantly to, to get the data on the listings. So I love clicking there's like a little menu that you'll have on the left-hand side for Everb. And you can click like product analytics, and it'll like pull up a list for you, and it'll tell you how many sales the shop is making a month on that. How much money they're bringing in. You can click in and see like the shop age, so you can kind of gauge like how long have they been around. You can kind of see what products are trending and what aren't. Stuff you cannot see on Etsy.com at all. Like it's giving you so much more detail. And I love filtering in there to figure out in a shop what are their top performing listings, whether they have a bestseller badge or not. It's just so easy to just filter like that. I love that. And Everb does have a search tool that I use. And if and when I'm running a physical product shop again, I will use Everb email all the time. CraftKit's gone now. They actually when the whole integration happened where Etsy stopped giving emails, they did not have a good solve for that. But Everb email is also a great tool. I really love that resource. Sales Samurai I still use, and I don't really use their like how many searches there are a month, but I find their interface very easy to see how many competing listings there are. Now that Etsy doesn't show it in their browser anymore, it makes me so mad. I had done a YouTube video, they used to still show it in the app, and they've even taken that away. So and Everb gives you that data too, by the way. I just like so I open up the interface on 𝗟𝗟 so I can see how many competing listings there are, and then also get the related keywords. So it gives you this really great snapshot of a list of over 500 related keywords, and that's how I tend to find opportunities. So I find the opportunities in 𝗟𝗟 and I validate them in Everb. And between the two of them, it's like the perfect marriage for me of the data that I want. So that is, very much from the book of Lizzie's opinions. But that's why their data is different. They have to create the algorithm themselves. And that's what I think is a helpful way to use them. Okay, I think I thought there was something else I wanted to say, but it's gone out of my head. So I've also talked to you for 42 minutes now. Longer, actually, when we get to because you got to have the intro. I'm wasting your time. Anyway, super, super fun to hang out with you guys today. I hope this has been helpful. We've hit on some really good, kind of gotten into some weeds there on some of these questions. Thank you so much for submitting them. I hope you're having an amazing week. And until next week, next time, go make something awesome. I love you guys so much. Thanks for everything. Bye. And that's a wrap on this episode of How to Sell Your Stuff on Etsy. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. If you're looking for more resources, head on over to howtosellyourstuff.com, where you'll find podcast show notes, all the links from today's episode, the blog, courses, coaching, and more. If this episode was helpful to you, awesome. The greatest compliment I can receive from you is a rate, review, and subscribe on this podcast. Not only will it allow us to connect again on a future episode, it lets me know I'm providing you with value and helps other people find this content more easily. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for your support. Have a great day and see you next time.